Okay, well, the quickest, easiest, simplest way when it comes to commercial is understanding a baseline. Let's say you're just doing multifamily, which it sounds like you are. You need to have just a quick mental baseline of an offer gauge. Let me explain what I mean by this. If your market trades at an 8 cap, let's just say that right now, let's just say it's a little bit of an outskirts area, like if downtown Boston trades at a 6, as an example. The major metros trade at 6s, maybe an outskirts area where you live, maybe is a 7, maybe it's an 8, maybe it's a 12. I don't know, right? Like obviously we would do some digging, right? Once you have a gauge of a baseline, like, okay, market value is this cap rate roughly. And by the way, no matter what it says, I would go a point above. So if you're like, oh, it looks like it's a 7, go 8, right? Like I want to make this a no-brainer sale for somebody to make money. And then the other half of it is also basis, okay? Because it's also still in the evaluation part, which is cap rate and basis, which is price per unit when it's multifamily. What is a rough price per unit? You know intrinsically, if I can get a deal at this price per unit and this cap rate, it's a deal. I don't need to think about much, right? Like it's just, right. These are 2 quick check boxes. Is it price per unit below this, and is the cap rate above this? Yes, great. Let's move, right? Like we can transact. Once you figure out your baseline, which obviously, look, I mean, doing just like you did in the residential, if someone comes to you and says, hey, I have a house in X neighborhood, you probably can go, oh, okay, that's a 400K neighborhood. I need to be at 250. It's probably 75K in renovation, blah, blah, blah. Like you just know it's the same thing. It'll happen in the commercial world. It just has a different ring to it. Very simplest. It's very similar. And then obviously, once you have that kind of baseline, you're like, okay, well then, if this is baseline, I need to be at least 2 points, right, below base, right, or above base for cap rate, right? So like if base is 7 caps, I need to be at a 9 cap when I make an offer every time. If it's an 8 cap, I need to be at a 10 cap every single time I make an offer. Along paralleled with price per unit. If price per unit in your market's 150 and some guy wants a 10 cap, but it's at 160 a door, because that means he's maxed out rents. Rents are probably not getting any higher, right? Which is still technically top dollar, even though it's a 10 cap. Now, don't get me wrong, there might be a buyer for a 10 cap at maxed out rents, but what often happens is that you need, like for a good deal, both metrics need to be reasonable. Decent cap, decent price price per door. Always. What I try to do is that if, just like I was on the phone with somebody today, somebody was talking to me today and he's like, now this was an industrial building, not a multifamily building, but same principles apply. We were on the phone. He goes, yeah, I mean, look, I don't really want to sell it. It makes me great money, but I'm open to hearing an offer. Great. Music to my ears. No problem. Sounds like every single person under the sun, especially in commercial, right? In residential, when they live there, it's a little bit more like, I don't want to move.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
But in commercial, it's more like, look, if I get the right price, thanks, have a nice day. In this turn, he gave me all the rents over the phone. He's like, okay, one's 6,000, one's 7,200, one's 4,200, one's 5K. I'm calculating it in my head. I'm writing it on my notepad. It's $22,000 or so a month. Times 12 is about $264 a year. I immediately, and now I'm on the phone with the guy and I'm doing the calculations and I'm like, okay, well, times 0.6, right? So a 40% expense ratio roughly is a good ballpark for you guys. So then 264 times 0.6 is 158 grand, okay? You're just doing the same calculation. It's 158. Call it about now I'm going to be a little bit more conservative. Just say rounding. Maybe it's around $1.50. Okay, I'm rounding down a little bit. Whatever number I ever get, I typically will round down. And then I'll divide that into a 9% cap rate because I think I could probably sell something reasonably on the market for a 7. So I immediately offer the guy, I mean, this is roughly the calculation. I got 1.7 million, right? 1.6 and change. So I offer the guy somewhere around there. So I offer him roughly that number. Now, I'm on the phone with the guy, and within 30 seconds of being on the phone gathering the information, I already made him an offer. Yeah. Now, he's like, oh, why would I ever take an offer like that? I just got an offer from my neighbor for $3 million. I'm like, okay, I can respect that. I mean, can I ask you why you declined it? It's like, well, it's not in writing yet, but I'm waiting on it, right? Like, and all of a sudden we start digging into this deal. But here's the thing. He's thinking $3 million because of his neighbor. If he's anywhere near $3 million, I'm at half that. I'm not transacting with this guy. There is no money to be made. And if you do some quick math, 150 divided into 3 million, which he said it was above 3 million. Just to give you some reference, it's a 5 cap, right? It comes to around a 5% return on investment, which is horrible. No one's buying that right now, unless it's like, a 400,000 square foot, gorgeous brand new construction apartment complex, or 400,000 square foot industrial building or 400 unit apartment building that Blackstone's buying, right? Like, and they're barely buying 5 caps, right? So like, we're definitely not transacting on this type of deal. But like, this is the type of mental math and it's slightly different lingo, but it's the same process.